Coming soon on UBC.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning to all of you people who are viewing us today. Now, we must also cause a reminder that we also fast tracking towards the end of this week. Today is Thursday. Guess what? It seems just like it was yesterday when we were starting the week. Now, my name is Felix. Another day that quite causes a bit of meddling in our minds, thoughts up and down about what's happening in this country in terms of COVID-19, but also looking at what's happening again. Relief fund. Companies are being opened, the East African community. Later on, so in Haiti, we're looking at a hit against the president. Wow, so much to ponder about. But nevertheless, we're here to give you all this into the day, of course, to give you current affairs. We'll be looking at our newsreel later on, what is trending in the papers. But also, in our GMU agenda, we expect to have another topical discussion. But I don't do this alone, as always. I do it with my friend, my brother, Robert. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you, Felix Nkunda. Good morning, everybody that has woken up to Good Morning Uganda on UBC TV. It's always a pleasure knowing that we are ready to serve you and you're ready to get well versed with what is happening locally and internationally. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono. Like my brother said, there is so much that is actually happening in our lovely country, and we're here to ensure that despite being home, you're well versed with the happenings, and also to alert you on how best you can fight COVID-19, but also avoid being found on the wrong side of the law when it comes to implementation. Yesterday, Felix, I moved around town, and there were some incidents that were not very attractive. We saw a bit of tear gas. We saw a couple of people arrested. By closure of day, about 200, according to Deputy Police Spokesperson, Kampala Metropolitan, that is Luke Owesigire, spent the night behind bars. That is violating COVID-19 guidelines and should be a no-go area. So these are some of the things we're going to be looking at. And of course, just to remind you, no tire, no weather, reminding you that COVID-19 is around. It's killing Ugandans. Though day by day we're having victory over the disease, but please don't be part of the statistics. Prevent yourself, perfect the soaps. Good morning, Nkunda.
Well, of course, much of that is what we'll be sharing with you in our production, of course, today. But also, we'll be giving an opportunity for some of you who are on our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, to do mail reaction on our topic or discussion. One of them is what Robert has just been saying, the various arrests of people who make it to town. And as we have always said, this, if you don't have to be in town, please do not bother finding your way to town. Can imagine being arrested yet who came to try and win bread. Well, of course, that will be what we'll do. We also want to give you a glimpse of what did happen the last 24 hours in our local stories, and after that we'll be looking at our international stories.
Well, we begin with the Ministry of Health having an encounter with a task force led by Abdul Katuntu that is trying to find out reasons why all is not as it should have been when it comes to treatment, and also seeing Ugandans better able to fight COVID-19, where the Ministry of Health is under attack over failure to provide 42,000 specialized treatment beds as a countermeasure to contain the soaring numbers of COVID-19 patients for admission in national and regional referral hospitals across the country. The President made a directive last financial year, and a budget was put in place to ensure 42,000 beds were made available. The Health Ministry to date has failed to make the 42,000 specialized treatment beds procurement. Out of this projection, the ministry said it had only procured 2,000. Away from COVID-19, we'll look at an incident where residents of Nkumba, Bendegere, in Katabi Town Council razed down a resident's house suspected to have taken part in the kidnapping and killing of the neighbor's 6-year-old son, identified as Joram Kato. According to the area LC1 chairperson, Sam Mpanga, the residents under a crowd turned very upset and razed down the property of one Mayanja after he was arrested along with his son Moses Kaye Mando and yet another person to be identified in connection with the murder of Eria Were's son Joram Kato. The deceased parents informed us that the boy got lost on Saturday evening. However, they reported the matter to police, and on Sunday the search for the boy began with security officials and residents moving in. Mpanga said the parents of the deceased boy informed him of unknown people who had kidnapped the boy and called asking for ransom. However, they turned off their phones. The suspects' whereabouts later were traced after the police tracked one of the phone they were using to demand for ransom of 4.5 million Uganda shillings from the parents. The area councillor John Muhire said there is an increase in crimes associated to drug abuse. However, 4 suspects are now detained at Entebbe main police station as investigations into the murder commence. Well, we condemn in the strongest terms such inhuman acts, but also at the same time condemn mob justice. Now we move to the East African Federation, where members of parliament have expressed divergent views on calls to have the East African Federation speed up for socio-economic and political transformation of the region. Kasilo County Member of Parliament Elijah Okupa said it will take a goodwill and cooperation to have the Federation yield good fruits. As our reporter Henry Okrut reports, this position followed Tuesday afternoon call by Kenyan Deputy President William Ruto to Uganda President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to speed up the federation of the region. This was on Tuesday afternoon, and Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto was in Uganda. He joined Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni to lay a foundation stone for the biological drugs and vaccine facility at Matuga in Wakiso district. One of his appeals that some members of parliament from Uganda have welcomed, whereas they see it as a step in the right direction. They wish to see emergency of common political systems to make the federation a reality. To achieve all this, it will require goodwill and working together for a common cause in the region. This is the reason why Kasilo County Member of Parliament wants the East African vanguard of development to learn from other African regional blocks. And finally, on the local scene, vulnerable groups expecting 100,000 shillings bailout from government will have to wait longer after government asked for more time to compile and display all the list of eligible persons. The revelation was made by Colonel Sam Engola, the Minister of State for Gender, Labour and Social Development at Parliament. Although the Ministry of Finance has already released 53.5 billion Uganda shillings cash out, that is for support of the vulnerable Ugandans affected by the 42-day lockdown, the intended beneficiaries will have to wait for longer. Appearing before the Parliamentary COVID-19 Task Force Committee yesterday morning, Minister Sam Engola said they need at least a week to put everything to order before funds are dispersed. The Uganda shillings, that is 100,000 relief cash targets over 50,000 households, targeting about 2 million Ugandans categorized as vulnerable, especially in the city and municipality. However, Colonel Engola and officials from the Ministry of Gender found a hard time explaining to the committee the criteria used in selecting the beneficiaries. To some MPs, 100,000 is not enough and more money should be availed for this fund if it is to effectively solve the problems of the vulnerable under these categories. Well, those are some of the stories that we had on the local scene. In case you missed our bulletins, you can now catch up. Don't forget that all this is on our various social media platforms. We now head to Nkunda to take us through what is trending on the international scene.
Well, of course, much of what's trending is the painful death of the Haiti president who was assassinated just yesterday. Now we'll be looking at Jovenel Moise, Haiti's president, assassinated at the age of 53. And Moise served as president for more than 4 years amid increasing political instability and surging gangs of violence in Haiti. The assassination of the Haitian president, who governed for more than 4 years, amid the increasing political instability and surging gang violences, has shaken the Caribbean nation and drawn condemnation around the world. Now, Moise, 53, was killed in early hours of Wednesday at his private home in the capital, Port-au-Prince, in what Prime Minister Claude Joseph said was a highly coordinated attack by a highly trained and heavily armed group. Now, the assassination of the president, who governed this place for some time, also has caused fear in other leaders. Now, Haiti has lost true statesman. Joseph said, "We will ensure that those responsible for his heinous act are swiftly brought to justice," and the people of Haiti will then have confidence in the system of leadership and governorship in Haiti. Now, still looking at international stories, the Surfside tower collapses also. Zero hope of finding survivors. Now, rescue teams combining rubbles and collapses apartment building, Florida, are switching from searching and rescue missions to recovery effort. The decision comes about 2 weeks after 12-story, that is Champlain's Tower, South fell in the middle of night. 54 victims have been found, 86 are still missing. Surfside city officials came out to say no survivors have been found since the initial collapse, and rescue crews say many victims were found in their beds. Now, news that the rescue mission was ending came during a private meeting on Wednesday between families of the missing and the Miami-Dade Assistant Fire Chief. Of course, much of this, again, will be coming in as the stories will be developing, but the hope is that people may not be alive anymore, and they're calling off the survivor search mission there. Now, crossing over to Africa, we're looking at Jacob Zuma, who did turn himself in to the South African police. Now, former president drops defiance to begin 15-month sentence for snubbing anti-corruption investigators. Jacob Zuma, former South African president, turned himself into police on Wednesday to begin his 15th-month jail for the contempt of court. Now, the culmination of the long legal drama seen as a test for post-apartheid countries' ability to enforce rule of law. And police spokesperson Izadu Themba confirmed the statement that Zuma, who was president from 2009 to 2018, was in police custody in compliance with last week's constitutional court ruling. Now, the court sentenced Zuma to 15 months in prison for defying an order in February to give evidence at an inquiry examining corruption during his 9-year tenure as president. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, police had also singled that they would arrest Zuma by end of Wednesday if he failed to appear at a police station. Hundreds of his supporters, some of them armed with guns, spears, shields, had gathered near his rural homestead that is in Kondla, eastern South Africa, to try to prevent his arrest. But in the end, the 79-year-old Zuma decided to go quietly. Now, the convoy of cars believed to be carrying Zuma drove out of his homestead at high speed about 40 minutes before the cutoff time for him to give himself up. Well, whether for us to call it unfortunate or fortunate that a sitting president ends up in jail or serves sentence for actually defiance is something that causes ponderings in our minds to do, cause true attribute of what kind of leadership he must have fostered. 2009 to 2018, quite some good time for him to have formed good resistance in terms of his establishment and also his service as president of South Africa. Nevertheless, he attributes this to apartheid tendencies in the justice system, one would say, which is what part of that he built. But anyway, more of that is what we'll be giving you. Again, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Also, leave a comment, share with us what your true sentiments are about the stories we share. But of course, something quite unique that we do here is we share with you a song for the day. Now, this intends to motivate you, to lift you up, to put you in spirits that will kickstart your day. Good morning. Let's have our song for the day. When we come back, me and Robert will be taking you through a newsreel. Good morning.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also assist in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Every day gives you an opportunity to do life again, do life afresh. But we know at such a times, many of you wake up to sleep again because we are trying to flatten the curve by controlling crowded areas, congestion, so that we can decrease the spread of COVID-19. And one of the measures was to ensure that people do not access certain places of work, and we leave only essential workers to access their premises. However, this has not been the case when it comes to people that are working more so downtown Kampala. Every morning we wake up to a battle where people are in running battles with police because they want to come to town to make money or to find ways at least of taking something home. We assume, this is why we see these huge numbers, but then police is saying return home. Yesterday even tear gas was something witnessed, and by closure of business, about 200 people were confirmed to have been arrested by police in these operations. Moving away, we also have issues like curfew. That is also one of the directive. A couple of people have also been arrested under this for violating these specific guidelines, among others. Today, I and Felix want to take a broader look at implementation of SOPs, more so where the president gave strict guidelines in terms of movement, restricting movement, and also workplaces. Felix, we all believe as a country that a lockdown yields tremendous results in terms of flattening the curve or reducing infections. We've seen various experts in the Ministry of Health alluding to this, that we believe because people are not so much together, this is why we've had this. But at the end of the day, we also know that people have to make ends meet. It is difficult. So we are caught between a hard rock where people must still want to make money, but there are laws to abide by for the public good.
Well, if you remember categorically, when His Excellency the President of Uganda came out to give guidance on what would be locked, if you want to call it, if you want to add down, you can add locked down, but I don't know why they say lockdown. Can't be a lockup?
Lockup would be a store.
I mean, then lockdown would be what? I also tried, but anyway, that's on the lighter note. He was clear on what would be locked, and some of the directives he gave that have caused a bit of outcry is one: borders or motorcycles would only be allowed to carry what he normally loves to call a furusi.
Maybe furusi cargo.
Or cargo, you can call it as well that. He said that only people, between you and me, we don't know where they go.
Because this wasn't the case in the first lockdown, actually. Numbers were beat, but the second lockdown.
But you see, last time I told you here that if anyone is interested, should try to answer the question. Because that's the question. There's a problem question there. Someone, and government should answer that question. There's a problem. Before you see, and the answer to it is not caning people. Does nothing.
This is disobeying lawful orders. It is known that if you are not in this category, you do not go to town. What is bringing you to town if the arcade where your shop is closed? What is bringing you to town if Nasa Road, where you know that you've been working, the entire arcade is closed, and even the street, right from entry to maybe exit, depending on which side you're coming from, There are bulkheads preventing you from accessing that.
Yesterday, I was driving around the Mukwano side, and I saw LDU, or law enforcement officers, and I saw one of them was beating some people who are walking to town. Gabakuba with a baton. And in my mind, these people, for example, and I was thinking around, for example, look at the offices. Let's start with, for example, like even here at the corporation. The people who are support, like let's say people who help us keep this place clean. And I think every ministry has those people. KCCA, National Water, every ministry. These are the people, some of them you see moving. Because the president didn't talk about them, now they have become victims. The people who sell newspapers on the roads. Just to mention but a few. I am not saying that it is right for people to clog town. Some of them really do nothing, and others, by the way, come to steal other people's things. That has also been confirmed. When you go downtown, you go to those arcades in Nakasero.
Take advantage of
some of them come to stand. When I saw the arrest, I noticed that some people were actually... but you see, away from, if we can remove our focus on the aspect of, you know, just arresting people and try to cause interpretation into why are people coming to town. Kirabo, if you remember well, the first time the president came out to first say the 42 days, then he came and said the other 42 days. And if you remember well, the first one was more, we said in 3 days, people must have traveled back, blah, blah, blah. But this time when he came back, he closed that night. Starting 10, if you remember, I said starting 10 tonight, nothing. So many people hadn't come back to do their stuff or to put together whatever it is and all that. Now, people have been living in dire situation. This one I say time and again, that the people who go hungry. And maybe when they come to town, some people come to I've told you, to sell masks. Whatever they can land on to earn them something.
So they move to the land of opportunity.
The biggest problem, and by the way, is not the people coming to town, is a delayed so-called relief of government. Or the for me, I find it uncoordinated so-called relief. Yesterday before Parliament, you saw what happened. Honorable said you cannot give out money in this quack way. And for me it makes sense. You rather leave. Because who are going to get money? You fail to present lists. Trust me, you remember last time when they were giving out food? How many people are coming to town? Because they knew something was coming. And remember they had said, if you don't find you home,
we do not give.
You don't give.
You must be there to record you, yes.
Now, today, you're staying home. There's no hope that maybe the government is bringing us something. There's no hope that maybe you don't know what... People are hopeless, let me put it in that sense.
There is a hope, but you're not very sure.
There's no hope. There's no hope. Let me tell you,
Kirabo is going to come.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be part of it.
What is happening is they are closing gaps because we know that when it comes to finances, people can mismanage. So they are trying to ensure that all gaps of mismanaging this money to reach the desired or intended beneficiaries have been closed. Though it reminds me of an African proverb that says, "A thief who has no opportunity to steal considers himself an honest person." That many now are looking at people handling this money as bagaraziba. They want to steal this money, but actually they are trying to ensure that they close gaps that will make this money.
Don't sound like you. I don't know, like you're being. Don't be sarcastic. Let's be real. We're watching this program, and we don't want to become laughables.
Finance has approved this money. The money is there. This is a fact on table. Now, what is happening is, do we have the right beneficiaries? Get this money. That is the postponement. That is what the parliamentary COVID-19 task force led by Abdul Katum to say, no, we rather hold until we are sure we are giving the money to the right people. It's not that they have totally said this is now something we've given up. No, we are looking at how best we can ensure that the right people get the money. That is the...
Well, and for me, I feel that that's one of the major causes why you see people continuously flocking roads. And not only in Kampala, go to Machindi. Go to Machindi. Seen, because sometimes you normally pass by these roads. You see people buy as they're there. These are people, that's what they are going to do. That's what they are going to do. That's why people are walking to the city center. Because they are hopeless. We say that Iwakane Buchibida. When you stay home, there is no hope. Last time people were staying home because there was hope. Tuja. Now we have finished Kawempe. We are entering Bwa, you say, hey, you get it. Tulikawala, Nakulabye, Mengo, Rubaga, Motondo. Yes, there is hope.
Yes.
Now, you're staying home on what?
But also, Felix, when you talk about hope, how sustainable is this hope and how long can it see people through?
That's now a different discussion. That's now a discussion. In Uganda, we sent Nyonyintono. Utandika okukaya ng'ogibase. Ebiteeka mu nkuba otandika naye akanyama kompadde katono. But when you have
the starting point to that,
you get the point. You see, and even what's all over the media is not creating hope. Government this time around has created the hopelessness in people. In terms of for example, now the president said we close the universities and schools. Some universities are pestering parents for tuition because they are going to do exams online. You find there's no balance. Now it means that for the parents who don't have the 3 million, the what millions, their children are not going to do what? So, and this is for me what causes the hopelessness. Some schools and universities are going ahead to study, and their parents must pay tuition.
Online and they're paying for that, yes.
You get it?
Are given now, 6 days to pay 300 per
parents are locked down. Everyone is locked down. The economy is more or less at a standstill, but the other people want to benefit out of the situation. That's why you see people saying, Kamarega Genda. Today, if he escapes police, tomorrow he will run, they will tear gas.
By the time they come, he has gotten a 2 or 3K.
The things that pressurize humanity are still constant in yet another situation that actually is not constant. Kirabo, you have to eat. Now you have to pay school fees in a lockdown. You have to buy data for your child to study. You have to pay rent. If you have private rent also for where you work from, which people who work in arcades also, you have to pay that rent.
You have a loan.
So, all these things. But remember, for you are tied down. What option did you have? The government came out, and this is where we have a mismatch. If the government says, let's put a standstill to academics, why don't you do that? Why don't you stop these institutions? That you don't teach these things. If you're teaching, maybe now people have to, and for me that's why the problem is. Every other thing is going on normally in an abnormal situation. Now that's why, Kirabo, you can't stop people. Let me tell you, every day they will arrest another 200. They will arrest, and at some point people are going to turn violent because we are heading for a man-eat-man situation. And before you know, you wait for these officers. Yesterday I saw them on TV arresting people. They were going to start arresting themselves. You're going to see officers arresting fellow officers because the problems of Kirabo are the problems of constable who, ASP who, OC who, DP who.
Right?
I'm telling you,
a police officer, uniform and he knows count.
In universities, they also have bills. They also rent. You're going to end up 6 who was guarding people who are working. He was beaten. That was a shame. He was bleeding, the whole man. Now, because people's problems have not been addressed and the level of hopelessness, that man was supposed to start being given out yesterday, if you remember. And these were statements of a senior government official.
Said Wednesday, latest Thursday.
They even went to the media center.
Have been
and they were speaking on behalf of government. There's
a new development.
Now Parliament comes yesterday and says, we may even take another 2. I think that really. Now, I don't know if you get the point. The desperation of people. You see, we must not think far from the societies we live in. Other needs are constant in a situation that is actually unconstant, if I may put it that way. You get it? So people will behave in an untamed manner. You'll get to a situation, unfortunately, where people will also start beating police. That's why the Uganda say that it will.
Well, Felix,
it will bleed blood.
Let's look at possible solutions. One of the members of the task force had pushed for a move, saying, you know what happened? When they locked down, they prevented inter-district movements. What if we have people tested, and after they are being tested, because we've seen for some functions where you're required to do a COVID-19 test for you to attend, we've seen people who are traveling out of this country, and you know, you're having a flight, yes, you go, you have a COVID-19 test. They're saying, if you're preventing COVID-19 from spreading, why don't we come up with a procedure through which we can test people, and those that are days can have a gap, or
to go back to their villages,
so that we remain with very few. Actually, gave an example that if from the beginning maybe we're able to test about 1,000 people a day, and government provided the buses that we saw Kano Edith Nakalema when we had the students situation, so people would leave and go back, because we're having people in the city right now that really have nothing to eat and come to town even there is no hope.
And you see, Robert, when we talk about these things, it's hard for you to relate if you haven't seen it. I have seen it. I have seen it. I've told you yesterday, I think yesterday, but one I told you, if you have noticed, the people today who are selling Yangwe on the streets, masks, I'm older than you. That is the evidence. Yesterday I was somewhere doing work, and a lady comes with a basket of bananas. Old lady, come on, which for me the issue wasn't about selling bananas. That I don't care as long as someone is earning. But the story was, now, is that the country we want to live in?
I want to tell you,
is that the country we want to run as government? You ask yourself, as prime minister, as minister.
Very touching, you know, the animals I deal in. So we go to these abattoirs and we buy these chicken legs and chicken heads, then also the offals from the chicken. Yesterday I went there and this person tells me, into Vyalinye Bay, abantu kati n'abali batalya bugere babugula n'ebi na babi. Literally, did I know, seeing a person coming by my fence and it's like, "Mina yebi water." You know, these banner peelings. Like, yes, we get them, we cook them.
Let's answer the problem question. You see, everything doesn't go with enforcement. You people don't think that we are dealing with, even cows, there's a point you don't cane it. You get the point. Oh, what jikuba. You know, maybe in time. You cannot, everything is not about arrest, enforce, beat, arrest. No. They are hungry. Someone will die. You know, pick up. It's not going to collapse. People have not had meals in 2 or 3 days. Not because they are fasting. So we need to, this is a time for us to gather our, what we call patriotic sense. The government talks about patriotism so oftenly. Hey, be patriots. They want us to be patriots when we are condemning what is wrong. You're not patriots. Now, you're the patriots in government. I think it's the best time for us to see the patriotism in you. The police force, it is not a solution to arrest these people. You're going to arrest the whole country. And I've told you, and between you and me, Kirabo, before the 42 days end, you will see police arresting fellow policemen, because the problems we are the same.
They're universal.
They are the same. We are on the same spectrum in terms of the challenges.
Finally, Felix, how should we go about this situation? One of the remedies I talked about is finding a way where some of the people in Kampala and are feeling that yes, they should go back to the village. Maybe the technocrats, the experts come up with a way we can have those leave the city and head to the villages. That is workable.
That would be very, very good. And I saw the MP who suggested that. That's a good one. So they didn't even give it attention to discuss it. The things that make sense, they want to go back to their villages. Please let them go. Please let them
test
go.
negative.
Secondly, let us stop this thing of dilly-dallying. Let me use the Uganda word. This thing of relief, we are overplaying. We are mocking Ugandans. It's like we are doing a stage role play, you know. The minister comes, we are ready. The worst thing that can happen to any human being is being hopeless. Even their actions are hopeless. Your people who commit suicide, it's because of being hopeless.
Hope, yes.
You get the point? People who are best rebellers, people who rebel, it's because they have no hope where they are.
They feel there's nothing
These
to live
people,
for.
the extremists, the Muslim extremists, they are hopeless. Don't put Uganda in situations where they feel like they have nothing to look up to tomorrow. This government has the ability to assist Ugandans. It has been done before. This government has done it, and it can still do it today. The country I know you love to govern and live in as leaders, the Prime Minister, your teams, the MPs, His Excellency, and whoever is interested, isn't the country that you see today, where people are eating, you know, that chicken, I don't know if they are feet or what, I don't know what they call it, chicken heads. Hey, people starving for 3 days in a country like Uganda that has food, where people every day throw food, tons and tons of food. Let us bring our energies together. Parliament, do your role. You do a lot of talking, and for me that's quite disgusting. They do a lot of talking. They do lip service. We told them to stop. We told them to come. So let's help our people. This whole idea of arresting people is not sustainable. You're not, I've told you, you can't arrest. Yesterday they arrested. Today they may arrest. They may not arrest up to the end of the 42 days. Even the maybe officers, maybe they are hungry, poor men and women of this country. So let's find a way forward that is quite consolidated towards the general problem.
Well said, Felix. We call upon first and foremost you, our beloved Ugandan that is watching, please, from being found alongside of the law, do not access town if you do not qualify, because you might end up arrested. That is one. But how do we expedite the process to solve the issue of the vulnerable poor? And let's look at other alternatives. For example, like we've said, Member of Parliament was very honest and said, if we can have a number of people who are willing to go back to their villages, that will reduce then the vulnerable in terms of relief. And we see how best we can move with this situation. Let's work together to flatten the curve. And of course, we know the ultimate solution is vaccination. We call upon government. Yesterday, Honorable Dr. Jenrutha Chen said we're expecting more doses. She gave us hope. Let's see this hope come to live so that society can be vaccinated, a huge population, and then business will fairly return back to normal. When we return, we'll be looking at what is trending in the papers. Keep it with us on UBC TV.
Owning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy. It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
For being part of the show from the hour of 6:30 till 9. Thank you for keeping it with us, and that is always a date that we know you're part of us. Thank you so much. That is Senka Tukaluk watching. Lucas Kasimwe, thank you so much for watching. A number of people are sending in messages. We are watching, and of course, thank you for bringing out the plight of the poor. So Felix, a number of comments. Super, thank you for bringing out. They are saying yes. You're speaking our voice when it comes to what we are going through.
Well, we just pray that situations come back to normal and we get back to a life that we know, where everyone can fend for themselves, because we are not known for begging government. Honestly, Ugandans can make their money, little as it is, they know how to live their lives. So we just pray to God to help us that probably normalizes. Everyone can feed. Someone who sells onions, butunda, katu, everyone. We see women here in Kampala selling fruits, and that's how they live. And it's okay.
4-5 bottles.
It's okay. So we just pray to God for this whole thing they call COVID to get back to wherever it came from. Well, anyway, we will look at the papers, Robert, and we'll start the Daily Monitor while we looking at examining the 21 days of lockdown, premises and its co-occurred. Well, COVID-19 cases and deaths, they give you the curve here and how it looks like, most recent. Surprisingly, it's a bit down. It's a bit down. But also, they give you a breakdown on some of the things that government tracking COVID-19 targets, reducing cases, cutting COVID-19 transmissions. The 42,000 beds, only 3,000 beds secured since March 2020. Radios for home learning, that was cancelled. And the 21.9 million COVID jabs, government planned to vaccinate 21.9 million people. How far have they done? Well, much of that is what is in the Daily Monitors. But also, beating COVID, Lieutenant Colonel Lokot, Onions medication helped during home-based care. And today, the power of patience in love. Museveni threatens to arrest health officials. Okay. This is a story I want to read. Minister clash over release of COVID cash, and Haiti President Moise assassinated.
No, which is the story you want
at his home. That one of the president. I want to know who exactly is going to arrest.
Cracking the whip.
Well, of course, now ship at the Suez Canal there, a huge container ship that blocked the Suez Canal in March, disrupting the global trade, is finally leaving the waterway after Egypt signed a compensation deal with its owners. Now, there's a photo from the archives, the old tax park in Kampala. That is in the year of 1959. And of course, now today in history, we'll be looking at ex-Amens Minister pinned over Luwum's death and Uganda's first Paris celebration, 2000th birthday, also in the papers.
Well, in the New Vision, a number of stories, but we'll give you some of the highlights. We look at lockdown lowers COVID-19 infections. That is good news there. The planning body is optimistic about improvement in the situation. Still, Nabanja Cash turn clerks to display registers. The longer waited for money. Continue waiting, but we know it will come one day. Still, we look at Mwanza Port Bell shipping resumes. That is a breakthrough. And we saw a couple of about 1 million liters of fuel that were transported through Leyre and ship there. Then NRM, this is Secret Army General hails China. Who that is? More than Museveni roots for Africa's unity. Still, flyover UNRA pays, that is the Electoral Commission, 22 billion to relocate. Remember, that is part of the area where the flyover will be passing, so the current Electoral Commission offices, so they are to relocate and funds have been available. Now regarding COVID-19, today I am in a category of people excluded from vaccination. Am I in that category? Yes, there are questions and there are answers there for you. Looking at statistics, new confirmed cases, 425. Yes, we are trying because numbers are reducing. And the good news when it comes to death, praise the name of the Lord, we have 17 people, only 17 people. We believe we need to have 0, but still that is a step in the right direction. Total deaths so far, 2,012 people have succumbed to COVID-19 in this lovely country, Uganda. Look at some of the symptoms for you there. If you have a fever, you have a cough, you have shortness of breath, sore throat and headache, then you should seek medical attention because this could be symptoms of COVID-19. Today in history, it was on this date, the 8th of July, but the year 1998, when Butime gives public power to arrest. Still on the same date, the year 1994, we see Kim Jong II takes office as Prime Leader of North Korea, a man who has really proved very hard to press by the Western powers. A picture there, the new vision. Well, where did this one go? I am not broke. That was, says Mike Ezra, businessman Mike Ezra, displaying a stock of dollars to journalists to prove that he was not broke during the press conference in Pasha Hotel in Kampala. That was on the 2nd of September, the year 2010. Felix.
Well, I will tell you why people do those things with money when we finish the papers. Remind me. Now in sports, a Silverback wants to seal qualification in Morocco there, which is a good thing. At tennis, Wimbledon closing on Novak Djokovic there, and coach Mancini delights in skipping better Spain there. But of course also local netball coaches, top UNF job, and third gong for Namutebi at Real Star Monthly Award. And of course USA to demand a lot from Lavsey Popovich.
In the New Vision Sports, the Silverbacks are ready. That is inside there for you. Lottery to decide the ticket holders' fate. And just to remind you, 15 days to go. That is to the Olympics. Then the best of them. That is Semuju helped UBL to the Uganda Cup semi-qualifiers. But this and more, we always have updates in the world of sports. Felix.
Yeah.
I'm here to remind you why people do certain things.
Let me say this. Do you remember that black people, we are accustomed to low inferiority complex, if I may say that? Have you noticed that when a woman will do some things to get attention, it's simply because they believe more in what people think about them than what they actually think about themselves or know about themselves. So that is poor. So they hate the feeling of knowing they are poor. So they want the world to say that they want to get the prestige in people thinking that they're poor even when they actually broke. Name any of them who has an investment in this town, who employs people in this town. Name all of the people who have been flashing money in this world. Look at the likes of this guy, the proprietor of Facebook. Vis-a-vis this guy who plays boxing is called who? Mayweather. Who's richer? But who flashes money around?
Mayweather does it to the extreme.
There's just signs of being poor. Anyway, blacks, that's why we used to be slaves, so we're fighting to get to. So don't be.
So just reminding me, short men out there, please don't get upset.
Really?
Yes,
so let's not get upset.
Am I short?
So we'll also look at daily. Okay.
But first question, never again say I'm short. So short men out there.
I didn't even say short.
Okay, but you said us. One of the ladies told me why they find it hard to get married to short men is because all the time they have that inferiority complex. The man will become a problem in the home because he thinks you're underrating him because of their height.
No, what you do, you buy them high heels. But anyway, let's look at the Daily Nation briefly, also to see what's catching the headlines there. And of course, the Daily Nation, we're looking at a policewoman leaves trial of blood death as well. Wow. The DCI has warned the public to be on the lookout for the fugitive officer with 2 loaded firearms. Well, quite threatening. We hope this person is brought to book as well there. Now, failed by lovers, a bullet there and the Genesis, but also I take on Raila for the DM ticket, says Wanjinji. Much of that is what you can get when you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor, New Vision, and of course the Daily Nation to catch the headlines that also include the veteran editor Hilary Ngwano bows out at 83. Quite painful, a comrade in practice. But we will take a break. Also, when you come back, we'll be giving you some of the traffic tips for some of you who will be able to get on the roads. Yesterday we talked about pedestrians and how you can pedestriate yourself to town. But
also, Felix, what is annoying is there are a few vehicles on the road, but people are driving as if they are under influence of something.
You
know, someone hooting, cruising, there is no traffic jam. Why are you so much in a hurry?
I think we need to be, the country also needs to be worried about the effects of the lockdown. And today there's a private sector foundation dialogue about the same, but the health effects, or what we call the non-COVID sickness, but other health effects. That, again, trauma, mental distress, you know,
so
stress.
Someone could be driving, yet they're actually
I've seen
not
it.
on the road.
I have seen it. I have seen people collapsing, people fainting. I think someone needs to ignite that discussion for us to be able to understand what kind of solutions we have to give to our people. But anyway, it is Good Morning Uganda here in UBC. We will take a break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the traffic tips. And later on, we'll be hearing from Molen Kenyana, and we'll be talking about also labor exports and externalization, if you may call it, with Ndugu Ashe Chitande, one of the very good guys. One calm man, I must say. I mistook him for being a Muslim, by the way. But Ashe, I hope you're ready for our interview. And all our viewers are eager to have this discussion. In a couple of days, we saw the closure.
8 were put out of business.
And the reason was?
Trafficking and forgery, human trafficking and forgery of documents.
Exactly. So this is much what Robert will be discussing with Ashe. But also, please follow our discussions on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, but also you can catch us live on YouTube. A couple of our colleagues are there watching. We can see many of you are watching on Facebook. Thank you so much for following us, Joy, Apudi, and the rest. We will take a break. When we come back, let's get those traffic tips and Robert and of course Molen. Good morning once again.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable at sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and we also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, clearly, we want to thank you so much for still being with us here on YouTube on UBC. I almost said UTV. UTV is what gave birth to UBC. And for some of you who are over the age of 50, 60, you must easily relate with Uganda television, was it called? That was the TV. You can imagine Kirabo worked for UTV. And he makes, I don't know the kind of people I work with. Kirabo worked for UTV, the likes of Ruben. Kirabo is a comrade to the late Barry Francis. And he's working with me as a generation man. He has been through all the generations. The awards of this world, you know, the later. But anyway, we must thank you for some of you who know the vibes of UTV, now UBC. And you must relate with the various changes. We are also trying to change with the times. But nevertheless, our agenda still stays the same. Now, today we'll be looking at traffic and a couple of tips. Something of concern that is common on the road. There's something that we learn when you're learning to drive. They call defensive driving. Now, this simply means that when you're driving on the road, you owe two major duties, and this is what I know for a fact. A duty to yourself and the people in your car, and another duty to all other road users. Because by the definition of defensive driving, your next neighbor, in law, by the way, is the other road user. So it's incumbent on you to take care of them, whether they are in the wrong or right. I've seen people driving and they're like, you've seen how people have guards on their cars and they go around scratching people's cars. Just to remind you, you owe a duty to not only yourself and your car, but to all road users, whether they are wrong or right. I've had people make arguments. This one in wrong. You owe them a duty of care as a road user. Make sure that everything you do on the road also caters for all other road users. Again, whether they are right or wrong. That's what makes you a good driver. Secondly, take caution of all road signs. This is what will help you be a good road user, and this is the only way you can take care of other road users. When you know the signages on the road, do not overtake where you don't have to. The places, because the roads have all these indications. But most importantly, for some of you who use the roads, if you're not in good mental health situation, please do not drive. Most of the accidents on the African continent and otherwise by far are made by irregular people who are not in good command of their mental faculty. Don't get on the road if you are not in good mental situation to drive. Much of that, I wouldn't add much to that, but I know much of that is what we'll be sharing with you in other productions to come. I really hope the traffic lady comes back to see you in town. But of course, as we wait for the traffic lady, clearly she knows the best routes for some of you people who have bicycles and the foot soldiers. And I believe and trust that she will be here to take you to your true destinations. But of course, I can't wait to have Molen Kenyana also on the other side to give me the updates on weather and also to help us understand something. I have a big question for Molen. I don't know where she's hiding, and but I'll say good morning. Probably that's when I'll know. Morning, Molen.
Good morning to you, Felix. I am not hiding. As you can see, my face is on the screen. So that is not hiding, really.
But it's good to see you, and you clearly look nice and awesome, fresh in this beautiful morning. I just have one question for you before I get off. And Now, there's this thing they call, how many types of rains are there? Someone yesterday on radio was talking about, I don't know, some rain I've never heard of. I even failed to remember the name. That's how strange it was. How many types of rainfalls, and which are they seasonal? Maybe you can start with us to help me and other people viewing to understand. This rain that rains in Nile Avenue and not at Parliament, and then it will rain at Eso Corner, and then the winter, then it won't rain at Garden City. Is that what we call clustered rain, regional rain? Well, we can't wait to have Molen Kenyana take us through that. I'll let her please start with that, and we will be back with Robert Kirabo, and of course a bit of sports updates. Good morning.
Yes, thank you very much, Felix. You just reminded me of a conversation I had recently with Kirabo when he was asking about what Kazimu is called. I think in Uganda it's called. So when I told him it's called a dust devil, I think he thought I was just direct translating it, but it's actually called a dust devil in English. So I think we will talk more on that. But by now, I think he knows exactly what that means. Now, when it comes to rain, we look at it's either rain or showers. So they're not like types. So you either have rains, or you'll have showers, or you'll have drizzle. So with rain, we talked about this in our previous segments, but I'll still say with rain, it is some kind of continuous. It will be continuous. You look at thin clouds when you look up in the sky, the clouds that do produce rain are kind of thick, and I mean thin, and for them they will be covering the entire sky, what we call overcast. So you look at a situation where these rains keep coming for 1 to 2 strong, they're not that heavy, they're just continuous. So that differentiates it from showers. Now with showers, those are the ones, Felix, you were talking about on, it could be raining at Nile Avenue, but then just a few meters to Ginger Road, it's really dry. So with showers, they do come in heavy, and because they come from very patchy clouds, like for them, the clouds are just puffy and heavy, but not continuous across the skies. So you find that there is a rain-bearing cloud over Nile Avenue, but then just a few meters away, that cloud is actually not stretching up there, up to that area. So you will find that these rains will rain only where the clouds can cover, but just a few meters away, there it's actually dry because like the cloud is not extending up to that area. And also another scenario is you will find that these rains are actually heavy, very heavy in one particular region, and just kilometers away, it's actually not there at all. So those are showers. And with showers, they do have types. I think when it comes to types, we now talk about the types of showers, where we have isolated, and well, we've always put this in our forecast in the morning, where we have isolated, we have scattered, and widespread showers. Now with isolated, it will only be like up to 20% of the forecast area. If we say we're expecting isolated showers in Kampala, then you'll find that 20% of Kampala will be seeing those rains. So it could be raining down at Mapera City Square, but then you will find that much of Kampala didn't actually get those rains. I think we've all been through that kind of scenario, driving through Wandegea, it's raining, and then just as you get to the city center, it's completely dry. So that's just a few areas within the forecast region that do get these rains, and those are what we call isolated showers. Now, then we have I think what Felix was trying to say is scattered showers. Now, with scattered showers, they're much more than isolated showers. They will take up to 50% of the forecast area. So if 50% of Kampala is forecasted to get these rains, it's basically just a larger portion of the place. Now, they will also be kind of skipping some areas, but still, like I mentioned, it's because of the clouds they come from. With showers, they do come from very puffy clouds. They're not continuous across the sky, and they're usually thick. So you will find that because of that, there are gaps that are left in between. That is why you see it's either raining in one place and then the other is completely out. Then the widespread ones are the ones that cover the entire area. If we do have widespread rains in the forecast, this is something you look out for because usually they're associated with very heavy flooding. We'll talk more about this topic. I know it's interesting to learn which kind of rains that you see once you walk out of your door. But also what we have across our international weather stories, we were still following up on the Hurricane Elsa that is hitting Miami, Florida, still now making landfall across coastal Florida. But the good news is that most evacuations were done before, as the forecast for landfall was made earlier. And we also have sad news coming in from Japan. Tammy, from the pictures you're looking at on the screen, we have very devastating news from Japan. That is Atami about the landslide. There were heavy rains across that area, and that's some of the rescue team that was trying to. A lot of people missing, but we do have the rescue team on ground to make sure they are trying to rescue some of the missing people, but a lot of property has been destroyed in Atami, that is central Japan. We are still talking about extreme weather events, really. First, we came from the heat wave just recently, and now we also actually with Japan retreats, that is for central Japan. Not only that, we are still looking at Madagascar. Yesterday we were talking about southern Madagascar, where thousands of people are starving due to the prolonged drought that has been over that region. All around, it is extreme weather events. And we're already connecting dots to what is happening being a result of climate change. If you look at how our lives have been impacted because of the changes, people are talking about climate change, talking about global warming, talking about increasing temperatures. It is a topic of talking about extreme weather events. And these are only getting frequent. We could be looking at much more of those in the coming years, in the coming decades, because the curve is not going down. It's only going higher. And I know people right now are looking at the COVID curve. The emergency right now is COVID, but have you stopped to think that climate change could be actually the emergency that we're not paying attention to? Because it is killing people and devastating cities the same way COVID-19 is doing to communities. So you look at these events. This is central Japan, looking at that screen, where almost completely these guys have had the best infrastructure, central Japan, when it comes to roads and planning within the city, but still all that is being washed away. It is undermining all the development, undermining all the economic structures that we tried to put up all across the world. And look at events like hurricanes. For them, when they come, they are not looking at which city is this, how much you've actually prepared, and still even with all these alerts around. So when I'm talking about extreme weather, I want people to realize that this is an emergency that won't care whether you actually least developed or whether you're in developing countries. Actually, looking at the statistics, it is the developed countries that are most hit by these extreme weather events, except that they have a better adaptive capacity and resilience. But you look at countries like Madagascar, that drought that is stressing them for months now. There are reports of people dying of hunger because of this drought. They cannot carry out agriculture without rainfall. We start to look at such stresses that are impacting our lives, even here on the African continent, where we have less adaptive capacity. There is no way to cope with a changing climate.
a little help comes in from international organizations, with the UN on the lead, of course, with the World Food Program that they're providing now for southern Madagascar. But that is only a small, and it won't take care of everyone. Still, people are dying. And we look at more and more events happening. The frequency at which these are happening, it should be alarming, and this is why we continue to call for us to move from calling it a climate crisis to a climate emergency. It should be something that is on the political agenda. And oftentimes, I always tell people, climate change should be on the political agenda. Whatever we do, whatever we are implementing, even the policies that are put across, they are not being implemented to look out for especially adaptive capacity. Yes, some of these are going to be natural disasters, but how much can we adapt to such instances is still a big question. Let's take a look at weather today across the country. I was looking at the satellites this morning, and most areas are starting off with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We did have that rainy, was mostly over the islands of Lake Victoria, and that was the only place it was raining. Also for Midwestern Uganda, that is across Fort Portal and parts of West Nile, we did see those rains starting off our morning today. Now, in our forecast this morning for Midwestern Uganda, we do have mostly isolated thunder showers. These are the ones we were talking about earlier, where you find that 20% of the forecast area will be receiving these rains. That takes in Hoima, Masindi, Bulisa, Kakumiro, Chiliandongo, and it will be at a cold 25 degrees centigrade. The northern Missouri, that is where we have Kabarole, we have Doroko, we have Chinjojo in that category. We are forecasting isolated thunder showers. Those showers will be accompanied by lightning and thunder at 25 degrees centigrade and very light winds over there. That system is actually likely to move on into the afternoon. Now, for southern Missouri, that is where we have Kasese, Wera. Also, we are forecasting isolated thunder showers this morning, and that system is also expected to continue into the afternoon. Do look out for those. And we do have very cold temperatures at 26 degrees centigrade. Now, Kigezi Highlands, this area is still under alert for quite moderate rains. We are looking at isolated showers this morning at 22 degrees centigrade, quite a cold morning over there. That is where we have Kabale, Kisoro, Kunjiri, and Kanungu. We do expect more rains to come in later in the afternoon. Do look out for those, but with very light winds expected over that region, and they will be variable. Now, southwestern Uganda, that is where we have Istinjiro, Barara, we have Bushenyi in that category. Birizi, Shema, Bukweju, we are forecasting light showers, and those will be across a few places. Temperatures at 26, quite a pleasant morning. We do expect more rains to pick up also in the afternoon. Do look out for those. Now, West Nile, that is where we have Nebi, Apache, Zombo, Arua, and Koboko, Yumbe. We are forecasting isolated showers. Temperatures will be at 25, quite a cold morning over there. Those rains will be clearing later in the afternoon with very light winds. Also for central northern Uganda, we are forecasting isolated rain. Those could be continuous and could take a few hours. At 25 degrees, quite cold over there, but we also do expect a clearing trend late in the evening. Northern Choga, where we have Lira, Mutuke, Apache, Dokolo, and Molata in that category, we are forecasting isolated showers this morning at 24 degrees centigrade, quite a cold morning over there, because usually the normal morning gas is at 26 to 27 degrees centigrade. Rains over that area, temperatures are expected to remain up to 25 across central north, that is Gulu. Now for Midwestern, that is Hoi, we do expect to have rains in the morning for most areas, and most of those are really accompanied by thunder and lightning across the region. Also looking at northern Missouri and southern Missouri, we'll have Kasese. Kasese, mostly usually temperatures are 26, 27 for normal morning, but because of that thunder shower, those thunder showers expected this morning, we are expecting it to be at 26 with very light winds. And also same for Kigezi Highlands, we are forecasting showers remain at 22 degrees centigrade quite a cold morning, but compared to the weather across Kigezi Highlands, that is Kalale and Kisoro, usually it is a cold morning and temperatures don't go beyond 25 in the morning. But today it's just 20. Kabela Maido, we have Kumi in that category. We are forecasting isolated thunder showers and temperatures are expected to go up to 24 degrees centigrade, starting off with a very cold morning as well, but with light winds. Now, northeastern Uganda, this is the we have Mudat, we have Napak, 24 degrees centigrade, quite a cold morning over there. And we do have westerly winds mostly coming in from the coast, that is Indian Ocean, all the way through Kenya towards the Karamoja region. Now, Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, Bududa. We are forecasting isolated rains. Those will be really within the forecast region. Temperatures will be at 23. You do expect to start off with a very cold morning. It is already cold there, and we have the clouds developing across that region. Those will be bringing us some light rains, but still the entire morning will feel cold at 23 degrees centigrade. Now, Eastern Lawrence, that is where we have Palisa, we have Wudaka, we have Utaleja, and Kariro. We are forecasting light showers, isolated light showers. That will be only over a few places at 24 degrees centigrade. That means that it will actually feel cold compared. Now, that is in terms of our forecast for this morning. Do look out for more of our updates. Good morning, Uganda continues. We will have sports coming up later. That is after Good Morning Uganda agenda. Robert will be here to take us through that. Now, you can also follow the conversations on Twitter. Our handle is at UBC TV Uganda, and also we are streaming live on Uganda. I'm in Kenya, wishing you a good morning.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my...
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from first.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through communication development and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is a Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we're all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Ginger Tea drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN wide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rate from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Century Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN. We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Century Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents country everywhere you go.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again, and thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TVY Inspire Uganda. But our main agenda every morning is to ensure that you're well versed with what is happening around you and of course international. That is what we do. We know many of you may not even have access to newspapers, but we'll give you all the basic information that you should know at the comfort of your home, and they are very far from town. Well, today we are going to be looking at the plight of labor exportation in this country. We know a number of people have benefited from this. A number of people are working with importing labor. And today we are going to be having Ashich Tandwe, who will be joining us via Zoom. But I'm with my colleague in their comments via our various social media platforms.
Discussion, and I see Joy Desire came out to say that how many people have all the documents to register for the money. And for your information, all needy people lack ask documents like registration, etc. because of their literacy rate. But also she has to say that all people in slums are left out because they are asked for documents. They turn out to be useless to them. E.g., how can you ask a person selling soda in the park to business registration? You know, some of the requirements from government are quite outrageous, and of course also others came out to make comment about the same topic, and many are also commenting that at this time round this may not be pulled away from these handouts. Well, of course, again, you can continue to make comment about our topics of discussion on our Facebook, Twitter, but also on YouTube. Now, Robert will be having a good discussion with Ashe, and I can't wait to pick from what you guys will discuss.
Well, let me welcome Ashi, Director in Jersey, Uganda. This is a company that deals in labor exportation. Ashi, good morning.
Morning to you, Robert.
Where are you this lovely morning? I see you seem to be at the comfort of your home.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to make sure that we keep home, to ensure that we keep safe as well. Right.
How is COVID, this second wave, the lockdown, treating you as a person, but with a big picture on a number of people in this business?
Truth of the matter is that we needed this lockdown, without a doubt. It was very necessary. And I want to thank the government for taking that very bold step of having us back into this lockdown. So for me, it has been a necessary measurement to ensure that we keep safe. But business-wise, of course, we've had challenges here and there. which understandably had to happen. You have to sacrifice something to get something. So life is the most important thing right now, and then business can come in later. Yeah.
Let's understand, are you still, through scientific ways or whatever means, taking Ugandans out of the country to work, or was this put to a standstill?
Actually, we are still working. For those candidates that were found with air tickets and visas, yes, those ones are still traveling. Because remember, in the presidential address, the president was very clear. The airport is open. That means people can move in and out of the country. So yes, we're still working. For those ones that were found with visas and stuff like that, yeah, we're still working.
We know Uganda, every year we earn about 1.1 billion, that's US dollars, coming from people in the Middle East. And we have a population of about 1,065 people in the Middle East that are working. Every month, we also know you take about 10,000 Ugandans leave this country to go for greener pastures in this foreign world. But of late, we've seen so much being said that there's been a lot of human trafficking, a lot of forging of documents to have these people leave the country in a bit of business. How are you controlling this?
The truth of the matter, Robert, is that yes, your figure is actually incorrect. I want to correct you. It's 165,000 Ugandans in the Middle East, and these are in gainful employment. But the question you've raised, the question of you've heard of all these unfortunate incidents. Truth of the matter is the regulations are very clear, and once there is any breach, the repercussions are clear as well. So for me, I think it's a matter of regulation. Those that breach are definitely punished, and that is the most important thing right now. And of course, we have to ensure that this is kept as clean as possible. So for me, I think it's a bold step by the government to ensure that we keep regulating ourselves, but also the government regulating our companies to ensure that we do the right thing. Yes, Robert.
Talking about regulation, recently we saw that is internal affairs where 8 companies were suspended from carrying out on business. But let's understand, we know the inter-district movements were banned, were suspended. We also know that most of the people that leave this country, most of one of the areas where Uganda has done good is in terms of domestic workers. Some of them, majority of them come from rural areas. So how are you managing this situation?
Robert, truth of the matter is that if you have a ticket and your visa, you present this to the authorities, they will let you travel. And that is how we're managing. But we've put that process on standstill until the lockdown is lifted for normal movements. But if you have your ticket and visa, these can be presented to your to the authorities, and then they let you travel. So that is how we're managing. We're concentrating on those that were already in the very final stages of this process, mainly at the moment.
Maybe also to ask Ashe, we were looking at COVID-19 and it's a plight that we're going through. How do we still maintain labor externalization as a vivid industry? Because it had quietly gotten ground. How do we maintain the gravity in times of COVID?
Right. I think for me, first of all, Felix, I want to thank you for that very good question. If you remember, the first lockdown we had, it was a total lockdown. We didn't even have the airport open and stuff like that. So it was very, very difficult for us. But this second round, the airport is open. Once you have the documents, remember, the people that are leaving the country have been tested and they've been proven to be okay to travel and stuff like that. So that means they're not exporting any COVID to other countries. And for me, I think that is the most important thing. Secondly, if we maintain the framework the Ministry of Health has put in place, our leadership is working closely with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Gender, if we can maintain the framework that we are already using. Because you can see, you may not have this information, but if you go to the airport, you see very big numbers leaving the country to go and work and stuff like that. So it means that it's working. I don't have any complaints so far on the framework that has been put in place by government so far. Yeah.
So something else to interest you in that we're looking at a lot of allegations in terms of trafficking. Now, many of your companies actually have been attributed to be custodians of such tendencies. Where do you draw a line, and how can we refurnish the name of labor export externalization? Because it's sort of like most recent, it moves together. How do we disembark? And what are some of the things that you're doing as guys in the industry to make sure that you work on the tainted image of labor externalization?
Right. First of all, Felix, I want to categorically make this very, very, very clear to you. We do not condone human trafficking as far as we are concerned. Licensed companies under our umbrella body, the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies, we condone, we condemn this kind of acts. And if one is found to be breaching the regulations, the repercussions are very clear. And these allegations you've had, the ministry, together with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, they've been investigating them, and I think the results are very clear. What I want you to know is that most of our companies, and actually I don't want to give you false information, but I do not know any company that has been involved in human trafficking. But what I know, very many conmen, traffickers use our company names. This has been going on for some time, and many of them have been apprehended. So someone uses your company name, and yet what they're doing is wrong. It happened to me, and these people with the Uganda police. So that has to be understood. But also, as a sector, as an association, we try as much as possible to keep following the regulations, but also training, rather sensitizing the public to work with companies that are registered, because we know once you work with a registered company, there is a fallback position in case of anything. So that is how we are working, and the ministry is taking a close look to this, but also the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Yes.
Well, Ashi, rightly, you've always told Ugandans that please work with registered companies because there's a fallback position. But this time around, we saw registered companies with evidence on board being suspended over a period of time, with a lot of complaints being raised, a lot of files at police. Now, where does an innocent Ugandan run to?
Yes, Robert. Like I said, it's true. There may be some issues here and there, but as you saw last week, the government came out strongly and it made its position on some of the people that may have breached these regulations. And I think this is the way to go. That does not stop us from doing the right thing. But also, Robert, I want to assure you that in that same presser, if you remember, they made it clear that any candidates that had money that had to be reimbursed, travel documents and stuff like that, work with these companies and police so that you can get back your money and stuff like that. So I think that is also a remedy, that there is a fallback position. You know where to find these companies, you know who to follow up with and stuff like that. Imagine a scenario where you don't have, when you're working with the trafficker, where will you start? So I don't want to defend these companies, but what I'm trying to say is that if there is a breach, the repercussions are very clear, and that is it. So we can't afford to mix the two. Yes, you'll always have people who want to choose their own way of doing things. If it's breaching what the regulations are saying, yes, the law has to take its course, and that's the position.
Well, actually, over time, we all accept as Ugandans that this is one of the areas that has gained momentum in terms of providing opportunities for Ugandans. If we look at statistics, 10,000 leaving the country every month, that is a big number. The issue of going through a registered company, an ordinary person, say in Kanungu, in Kakuto, how then do they know that this is a registered company? How can they carry out checks such here and there to ensure that, yes, before they cough any penny, before they interest themselves in any dealing, they're sure they are dealing with the right person or entity?
Thank you, Robert, for that very good question. If you're up country, for example, the place you've mentioned, you can work with your area district internal security officer. They have this information. You can work with the labor officer, your district labor officer. They have this information. If you're in Kampala, the ministry is located just right behind CPS, Simbamanyo building, Simbamanyo house. You can go and seek this information. This information is readily available to the public. But if you have any challenges, you can still contact our association as well. We are found at BMK House, Hotel Africana Complex, level 4. That is the offices of the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies. That's right, Robert.
So actually also just to pick from you, and as a person who's been in this business for quite a time, the big question would be, so far, how many contracts do we have, and have we been able to add any of them, or do we expect to add any to the memorandum or agreements we have with those countries where people are supposed to go? Up till today, people are still being fleeced to be taken to various countries. Some people, and maybe also to tell us whether or not it is actually labor externalization. People who are being taken to Sudan, Congo. We have been focusing lately a lot on the Middle East, but you take people also to these other countries.
Felix, thank you for that very good question. Truth of the matter is that a Ugandan can be externalized to any country that the ministry, rather the government allows us to externalize, as long as it's safe and the government finds it okay for them to travel. But what I can tell is that all what we are doing right now is to ensure that Ugandans have safe and productive employment. But at the moment, if I may just highlight on the issue of domestic workers, for example. Domestic workers at the moment allowed to work only in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, nowhere else. So that is very, very important. But these other job categories can work anywhere in this world, as long as the government has approved that job order and finds that the country X, for example, is safe for them to go and work in. So Felix, Uganda can go and work in Congo, and as long as the government has approved that job order and has found the employment genuine and safe and productive for this particular Uganda.
COVID has redefined so many things, Ashe, and the worry is that after probably COVID or amidst COVID, what is your take? Do we see more people applying for labor externalization, or the numbers have fallen down? Do we see people yearning mostly to leave the country, or they shy away from countries where you normally take people to do work? What's your view?
Okay. Actually, Felix, this is a very interesting question. Truth of the matter is that the first lockdown had its own effects. You know, people lost jobs, some companies closed and stuff like that. So it created a very, very big vacuum in the employment sector. But also, on the other hand, pushed a lot of Ugandans to come and seek opportunities with our companies. And at the moment, I can tell you that when the first lockdown was lifted, in those first 3 to 4 months, I think, very many Ugandans left this country, and very many applications are on our table still today. You know, trying to seek employment abroad. So it's true. This has affected Ugandans in a way that the numbers are very big. I can tell you that. And to be honest with you, even in some of these countries where we externalize Ugandans, vacuums were created Most of these nationalities went back to their homes. Just yesterday, I received a phone call from my client in Somalia. He was asking me whether this lockdown has not affected Ugandans to go and work in Afghanistan. So they want to give us another opportunity of deploying security guards in Afghanistan. So that shows you that the people that were there left, so that vacuum was created. So many and more opportunities are coming in for Ugandans in that respect. Thank you, Felix.
Actually, more opportunities are coming up, but let's also look at one area where we've had disruptions, we've had negative publicity. This is the safety and security of the people that are going in these different countries to work, more so when it comes to the field of domestic workers. What are the measures put in place to ensure that these Ugandans, even when they leave, they're in terms of employment, not modern-day slavery?
Right. I've been hearing a lot of Ugandans are talking about employing the deploying of domestic workers in these countries as modern-day slavery. But unfortunately, as Ugandans, sometimes we get excited with words that we may not really get to think about. What I can tell you, Robert, is that there is a thorough process by the government of Uganda and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in how Ugandans are externalized to do domestic work. I've been time and again sharing this information with Ugandans in the different forums that I've been visiting, but I'm going to repeat. One, there is a system called Musanet that the two governments are running together with these recruitment companies. For example, my company, Jersey Limited, has a company it works with in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are all on that system. So the government is there, and as private recruitment companies, we're also there. So they are monitoring what we are doing. One, if this young lady, for example, has been selected, remember they go through interviews and stuff like that. So it's not just speaking Ugandans and just putting them on the next plane out of the country. No, interviews are done. These people are selected. Then their CVs are shared with potential employers in these destination countries. Then after that, contracts are sent. Those contracts, remember, were agreed upon by the two nations. So the candidate is sensitized about this particular contract with her next of kin in the language they best understand. After all this has been done, then they are at liberty to either sign the contract if they agree. If they don't agree, they can always stop at that moment and just drop out. So once they agree that whatever they're talking about in that contract, they agree with it, then they sign. Me as the company, the team leader in this destination country also signs. And then the employer, the house where the girl is going to work, also signs. So when we finish signing this particular contract, it's uploaded back on the system for the two governments to monitor and do an approval. So they approve that, yes, we've seen this contract, we've seen you've signed, you've met all the obligations you have to meet, and yes, we've given a go-ahead. That's when they issue us what we call a clearance. And that clearance is issued by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development here. We take that clearance and go and carry out what we call a visa medical. This is done by the GCC, the Gulf Council Corporation, medical centers that are accredited. Once they pass that medical, that final medical, what we call visa medical, then we get that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in this case, and then we're issued visas. So it's a very thorough process, and that is why I believe that this is not modern day slavery, because people are being paid. No one is dragging a Ugandan, to this country when they're not interested. Secondly, the process is very clear from the beginning till the end. So I strongly come out and say that this modern day slavery rhetoric should be stopped, because it's affecting our international relations. Thank you.
Well, from me, lastly, Asha, I want to ask this question, that now we have the country that has about 70% of youth composition that at your disposal, and one of the challenges why some people are failing to be, or probably to work abroad or what, is paperwork. Is there anything you're doing about this paperwork? Because people understand, or maybe the starting question would be, what do people need to qualify, for example, to be externalized as laborers, wherever the agreements Uganda has qualifies? The biggest challenge that people fear to come to you, one, they fear that some companies ask exorbitant fees. Two, a lot of paperwork, but also third is what you've addressed, that when people outside there's more of slavery. Well, that one you've addressed. But the other fourth one, and most pinning, is that there's a lot of red tape you companies have. Bring that all these things. I don't know why you want people's papers to that point.
Felix. Thank you, Felix, for that question. Truth of the matter, Felix, is that if any company is asking you for land titles, that is very, very unfortunate. It's not allowed. It's very, very wrong. Secondly, you do not. What I want you guys to first of all understand is that qualifying for a job, you need to first go through an interview stage. When you've gone through an interview stage, you're selected. When you're selected, you're offered an employment contract, which you read and understand. After you've read and understood and agreed, then you sign. That contract is approved by the ministry and that particular process that I've explained. But you can't pay any money until you've seen your visa. Ugandans, I want to urge you, don't pay any money until you've seen your visa. If a visa is issued and you see it, that is when you're supposed to pay money. But do not pay any money. Secondly, the issue of the exorbitant money required. I think that that issue has not been well explained to the public. What it is that some Ugandan companies go and seek opportunities for Ugandans out of this country. But in between there, they for example, I'll give a very good example. I want to get plumbing jobs for Ugandans in let me say, Qatar. But the opportunity has come from an HR consultancy in Qatar. They will need some commission from me. So what happens is that if a Ugandan has been placed in company X in Qatar, but the job was gotten through an HR consultant in consultancy in Qatar, that commission that the HR consultant needs, the consultancy needs from me, is to pay that money, that commission. That is where the problem comes in. And that is why we are saying that let's sign more bilateral agreements with these companies, with these countries, so that we get rid of this middleman, who is the HR consultant in this case. So that is where the problem comes in, Felix. Secondly, we cannot do much to get rid of these middlemen or these HR consultancies until we've made an intention as a government to go and sign these bilateral agreements. Because when you sign bilateral agreements, they are open to all employment our government is working with the other government. So that is it, Felix.
All right. Clearly, my kidney won't be taken to get a job abroad.
And definitely,
Felix, that is very, very unfortunate talk that Ugandans actually throw here and there. But I can assure you, Felix, that that cannot happen, because we have to account for every Ugandan. Externalize, and if there is any problem, the government is the first person to, very first entity to whip us.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank you, Ashe Chitwandwe, so much for the time that you've given us. One of the things we've learned is COVID-19 has brought in more demand for people to go abroad to seek for jobs. But also we learned that for domestic workers, please, it is only the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia where the government of Uganda has actually signed a memorandum of understanding for you to work in that country. Thank you, Ashe. Wish you all the best as you continue providing employment for Ugandans outside this country.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Felix.
Welcome. Well, we will now get to know more regarding sports. Yes, Ruben is not around. We pray for quick recovery. Our dear producer, Ruben Kasera Mpima Chivirango. So, Felix, we'll sit in for you and we'll be delivering more of that. Stay safe.
Of course, we'll be looking at the highlights, Robert, and just a few of them, but the major ones, of course, will be the triumphancy of England, which is coming in to make an year embark on its trying to break away from the 55-year almost stampeding, now that it's getting to one of the biggest trophies. But before we go into that, Robert, let's just look briefly at Obachan departing KCCA after 6 seasons, and he came out to make mention that he will be leaving the club. He did start with the academy where he was for some time. After when he came to also now the senior team, then he was loaned to Police, then he had to come back. Now Philbert Obachan has finally left KCCA with heads up, having won at least one Uganda Premier League trophy, one Uganda